Welcome to Beyond the Buzzer. Jim and I are working overtime, going beyond the buzzer, if you will, here on a Monday. It's October 9th. We got our first taste of some real biting fall wind this last Friday. I don't know if that's what was going on up at your game, but that's what was going on over in Gladbrook, not Reinbeck. I'm sure it was happening in Reinbeck too, but there was no football happening in Reinbeck as I
just read the assignment. Read the assignment that you were sent.
Well, looking back, listening back to Beyond the Buzzer, the first town out of your mouth when referring to where I would be on the Friday night was Reinbeck. You corrected yourself about 30 seconds later, but see, you planted that seed in my head. And I
sent you an email.
I ended up driving circles around Reinbeck.
In the assignment, and it says location Gladbrook.
Those are for Chris, our photographer, not for me.
But
I already know.
Always
I already
approve
know.
Them. You always agree to the assignment.
Yeah, because you told me you'd like it. It helps your peace of mind if I hit approve. So I could just let those hang out in the inbox, but I do.
Yeah,
and
went
I
to
do
Reinbeck
a solid.
first.
And I didn't show up late for the game either. I was still 15 minutes early, but the gas light came on as I was pulling into Gladbrook football field. So thank the Lord for the Casey's sitting in Gladbrook. Because I knew I had enough to get back to Waterloo from Reinbeck. I did not have enough gas to get back from Gladbrook. So that was
I've talked to some experts. We believe that the home football field for Gladbrook-Reinbeck is the farthest away from the actual high school and probably maybe any school in the state.
I would.
It's 19 miles.
I would believe it. It was 20 actually when I mapped it. So
yeah, 20 miles between, Gladbrook-Reinbeck High School and their home football field there in Gladbrook. Which is, I've been to many times, so I know where it's at. I figured you'd been there before.
I did not. I have not. No.
Okay. I guess
I only covered football. Yeah, I only covered football one time. So yes, I was here during the 2021-22 school year. I did not cover football during that year, and then you never sent me to Gladbrook-Reinbeck last year. You sent me to Don Bosco for a Rebels game.
Now you know where the football field is.
Now I know where it's right by the fairgrounds.
Yeah.
And I had some nice talk with Chris Zoller about, what kind of hogs you could see at the fairgrounds during the summer, what kind of cows you could see. Love the 4-H. One of the first ever published credits I got in a newspaper was for shooting 4-H at my local county fair.
You were shooting the animals at the 4-H fair?
Well, not with a gun, with a camera.
Oh, okay. Just wanted to clarify.
It was a big. The oil companies in our area would come in and buy some kid's cow for
I know it's a pretty cool process.
Thousands of dollars, and then they would be like, "Hey, look at the cool thing we did in your community and paid this kid way too much money for this cow." And so, that was my job for the newspaper to get a picture of those cows for the marketing purposes.
Yeah, since we're down that rabbit hole, I'm amazed at always when the grand reserve prize for the state fair or whatever, and it's into six figures, and I'm like, holy moly.
Yeah, kids paying for college with those animals.
I know they have to put a lot of work into that stuff. So props to them. But anyway, that's that or not. But that's pretty cool. For those kids and all the work they have to put in and
nice
pay for college.
Yes, and outside of the fairgrounds, nice facility in Gladbrook.
Yes.
Very pleased. And they have like the top of the line helmets going on too. I like looking at uniforms, which they got new uniforms this year. Did the Rebels? They got new helmets as well. Last year they had blue helmets. This year it's white, and they got the top of the line. I don't know what it's called, but it's the top of the line Riddell helmet. You don't even see them on all of the college or all of the pro guys yet, but Gladbrook-Reinbeck's got some drip when it comes to football. Do you know what that means?
Drip. That's cool. That's some swag.
Yeah, clothing wise, yes.
Yeah, I got it.
Gladbrook-Reinbeck.
I'm old, but I get some of that.
Well, you
stuff.
got a kid in high school, so I'd hope you'd pick up some of it.
He doesn't share anything with me.
That's good.
But I think he has used the word drip before. So yeah.
Well, he's dripped out. I've seen him wearing his Vipers before. Talon Nelson is dripped out. We'll go ahead and fully transition as I switch to the wrong topic here. We'll go ahead and switch over to more serious football talk. We'll start with that game in Gladbrook-Reinbeck, or at Gladbrook, as the Rebels hosted the Clarksville Indians. Clarksville is number 7, Gladbrook-Reinbeck number 3, both of them unbeaten. And the Indians came out on top, got a last-minute touchdown, a pass from McCade Bloker, a 29-yarder to Sam Hoosier for the game-winning score. And then he found John Stafford, I believe was the name. Stauffer. John Stauffer for the 2-point conversion, also a pass. So they had passed one time before, it was incomplete, and then they passed 2 times in a row and get the game-winning 8 points that they needed. Gladbrook-Reinbeck not able to get down the field for the game-tying score, and had a couple heaves toward the end zone, just couldn't hook up. And that was how it went down in Gladbrook. It was a fun game. As I said, it was fall football weather, so you could really feel it. Both crowds were really nice and engaged. You could tell these two teams were undefeated, and they could do their craft at a high level. And so always nice to see that. McCade had a really nice game. The Indians kind of play like a 2 feet in a cloud of dust kind of style of football, whereas the Rebels are a little bit more high flying. They have like a spread offense. You can
for 8 players.
Yeah, for 8 players, it's like a spread offense. Yep. And so they're throwing the ball around, so really contrasting styles. I was really impressed with what the Indians were able to do. First district title in 23 years. So last year they went 5-4 after winning one game the previous 2 years combined. McCade was a freshman and a sophomore those years. Last year, he and that senior class of 2024 started to taste success. Well, now they finally had success at last, getting a district title. And they'd been combined with North Butler for a while. Isn't that correct, Jim?
Yeah. Clarksville? Yeah.
Yes.
And a lot of other sports except for football. Yeah. So, sorry, answering, I'm doing multitasking here, but, so for a lot of sports, Clarksville, I think they have their own in some things, but like wrestling, they're combined. There might be a couple other sports that they combined with, but for the most part, but football, they've played football with North Butler maybe in the past, but now they're playing.
Well, I play hockey on Sunday nights with a gentleman who went to North Butler, and he said that they used to be combined. So
yeah.
That's where I'm getting that from. They're going to finish out their season, one final game against Meskwaki Settlement, who is 0-6 this week. That win moved them to number 4 in the IAHSAA committee rankings, and quite frankly, I feel like that's a little low. I feel like they're maybe still trying to get some of the respect that an undefeated team should warrant. They're the second lowest unbeaten. They're only 2 spots ahead of Gladbrook-Reinbeck, who was number 3 last week. So they're a spot below who they beat. They had a halftime lead, so they led. They were right there with it. They trailed by 2 scores twice and came back, so they showed resiliency. They had a lead at halftime. They won the game. Still not getting respect. I asked their head coach about it on Friday night, and I said, is it been, you guys are ranked fairly low for an undefeated team, and he thought that they had finally earned some of that respect. So it looks like some of that is still out there to be earned, to be gained in these final couple of weeks and into the postseason. Jim, what do you think is a good ranking for Clarksville at this point in the season?
Well, we're into week 8. They're in the playoffs. Gladbrook-Reinbeck's in the playoffs. We're gonna have several local teams. As a matter of fact, I broke some of that down. We're gonna have a lot of 8-player teams in there. I think a couple other local teams, Janesville and Dunkerton, are right in the thick of those 32-man team fields. So they're gonna get into the playoffs there. So, but I think rankings right now, it's fun for us to talk about them. It's fun for the fans to talk about them. But Clarksville's just going about it, and they're proving their worth. 8-0, that's not easy to do. They played a week 0. They're getting an extra game in there, so they're gonna have a 9-game regular season where most of these 8-player schools are only playing 8. So I saw them earlier against here at Dunkerton. They can run the ball, and that's their bread and butter. And so to win a game on passing is amazing. So I can't say they're ranked appropriately because they have no past history of being outstanding. I mean, but at least an 8-player.
Do you have to weight that when?
I guess you got to earn it a little bit, because nobody really is expecting it. And now you're 4 weeks in the season. Okay, hey, Clarksville's 4-0. Who they played, or whatever. But at 8-0, and that's their signature win. That's the win where they really announced their presence, I guess I should say. So now they're probably ranked appropriately.
Well, I would say that they're still too low because you're undefeated and then you go out and beat the number 3 team who's ranked 4 spots ahead of you. I feel like that should give you some respect. But it seems like the way the committee is ranking it, it's like, well, maybe we just had Gladbrook-Reinbeck ranked a little too high, so we're going to weight it that way. And I hate that. You gotta rank things in a vacuum. Okay, I understand that tradition informs preseason rankings and early season rankings, but like Jim said, we're in week 8 now. You can use this season. You can take this season in a vacuum and rank that way. So no, I haven't seen any of the teams ahead of them necessarily play yet this year. But I just feel like 4 is a little low, which is incredible to say, given that it is it's number 4. There's only 3 teams better than them, but I feel like that could be still too low because of what I saw them do against a team that has been well respected throughout the state in Gladbrook-Reinbeck, and a lot of people had it number 1 coming into the year. That paper down south, or one of those papers down south, had them ranked number 1 coming into the year.
And they opened the year with a big win over Don Bosco, who's traditionally dominated 8-player play around here. So,
well, then now you're getting back into tradition, which I just said you need to get rid of now at this point in the season. We'll go ahead and shift gears and talk about some of the big dogs here as we get our second.
I'm in a mood today.
You are in a mood today.
Yeah.
We get our second RPI drop today for Class 5A, and Cedar Falls has moved up to number 11, 6 spots from number 17 last week with a 42-7 win over Dubuque Senior. They're the 3rd highest ranked 4-3 team, only trailing 2 teams that they have faced this year in Prairie and Ankeny Centennial. Their remaining games are against number 5 Kennedy in the RPI rankings, who's 5-2, and number 19 Davenport West. They're 4-2. I think the RPI is kind of telling the story that we told last week when we talked about the Tigers' playoff chances, and they are probably better than their record. What does the RPI ranking tell you, Jim?
I think it says exactly. They played a really tough schedule. If you go back at it, that Prairie game was a real toss-up right at the start of the year. Prairie got it. So, but then they had to go on the road to Centennial. That's a really tough one there, and I'm blanking on their 3rd loss, but it was against a really excellent team. But they're 4-3. They got
Valley.
Pleasant Valley. That's it. Pleasant Valley, a very good program.
Yeah, 31-28 last second.
Yeah,
they almost stormed back, but then
they're right there. My bold prediction last week was they're going to be in the playoffs. It's a big game this week. A lot of reasons why this is a big game this week for Cedar Falls. One, you beat Kennedy and you really solidify your spot in the playoffs, and you might get a home game, which because you might vault from 11 to 8 or 7, so you might get a home game. That's a big deal for the Tigers. Other big deal for the Tigers is this will be the last regular season home game inside the Unidome for them. After I think they began playing there in 77 or 78, shortly after the Dome opened. I might be wrong. Maybe they started in 76. I got to look at my notes. I'm working on a story on that this week. Last week, they a lot of years they're building a new high school. They've got the football stadium is pretty much almost done. I know the field turf's down. So anyway, a big week, but on the gridiron, really, if we're talking about week 8 here, the Tigers, if they can beat Kennedy, that puts them in line where we go when they're heading into week 9 of getting a home playoff game, because you can finish 6-3, you might get to play at home to start off this playoffs, and that's a big deal. Now, and then you get a home game, you get a win, you're going to play somebody that's in the bottom 8 of the RPI. Now you're into the quarterfinals, and who knows what happens once you get to the quarterfinals. So
you mentioned in the office after he committed, but there's a big offensive lineman that plays for Kennedy. He committed to Iowa. Brooks is his last name. So that'll be certainly an opposition player to keep an eye on Friday. I'll be in the Unidome for that game, or will you be in the Unidome? You switched up the schedule a little bit.
Well, I'm trying to be nice to you and not make you cover a football game and then drive all the way to Brookings, South Dakota in the morning.
Yeah, so
but we have some other big games. So if you wanted to volunteer to work Friday and then get up again early on Saturday morning, we can talk about it later this week. But anyway, right now I'm scheduled to be inside the Dome covering that game on Friday. Kennedy at Cedar Falls. It's one of the bigger games of the in our Northeast Iowa this week. 5-2, 4-3. A lot of Division I athletes on that field. And it's really setting up the playoffs for those two teams. Kennedy is coming here. They can solidify. Maybe also a home playoff game with the win. So yeah, a lot on the line for those two games. So yeah.
And that RPI it's ranking your record, opponent's record, and opponent's record. So there's 3 different things that go into what is ultimately making the cookie there, or the sandwich there. And that's I want to bring that up because we shift gears to another 4-3 Metro team here in Waterloo West, who was number 16 last week, lose fairly handedly to West Des Moines Valley. Don's not here today. He'll be back next week. He's not here today to tell us about that game that he was at. But they dropped to number 22 after that loss. Valley was 28. Now they're up to number 20. They're just 2-5. The remaining games for West are number 26 Liberty at 2-5, and number 31 Ottumwa 2-5 also. So you're looking at that. It's like, hey, you could have to be going up against Kennedy and Liberty right now, or Kennedy and West right now, Davenport West. So it seems like they have a bit of an easier path to the playoffs right now, but they're on the outside looking in. We talked about it a little bit as Don made his bold prediction last week. What do the Hawks need to do over these final 2 weeks, outside of the obvious, which is win, to get into the playoffs?
Well, yeah, you pulled the rug right out from it. Basically, it comes down to they got to go 2-0. They got to get to 6-3, and then just hope. Big win at Iowa City Liberty this week, and Liberty is another one team, kind of probably a little bit like Cedar Falls, where they played a super tough schedule. They're 2-5. But they played everybody really tight. They haven't been getting blown out. It's not gonna be a cakewalk. What's gonna have to go play one of their better games of the year and to get the win. And now you're 5-3. You have a Tumwa team that you handled pretty easily last year and last year. But I think West could go 6-3. They got to go 6-3, and then your hands on the fate of the RPI. They'll probably have a good idea what they need to do on. If they get the win over Iowa City Liberty, they'll have a pretty good idea what they got to do against the Tumwa to make the playoffs. So West, it just comes down to that. They got to go 2-0. You lose a game, you're not making it.
Yeah, you can look at it. It's like a blessing and a curse to face these two teams last, because opponent's record is a factor in the RPI. And so if you're winning those games, you're dropping your opponents to possibly 2-6 next week for Liberty if they get the win, and then Ottumwa could be 2-7 at that point if they lose their game this week and West beats them next week. So you're looking at those 2 wins aren't going to help your case in the opponent's record category, and then you're hoping that your record and opponent's opponent record is carrying the water for you in that case in those final 2 weeks. Is they're looking to get back 6 spots up to number 16 again to be in those final 16 teams, and then at this point you're looking at going on the road. So it's certainly, you could be in a better spot if you're West, but I'm sure that they're liking.
They can control it. They're sort of controlling their destiny. They can control as much of destiny they can. I think 2-0 it puts them right. They're right there. They're in that 16, 17, 18, or maybe 15, 16, 17, 18. They're going to have to play. They have to go on the road. They're going to play somebody good, but playoff is a big accomplishment. So winning 6 games is a big accomplishment. So the biggest thing for them, they got to be 5-3 on Saturday. Or they got to be 5-3 at 10:30 on Friday night. That's the biggest thing. That's the biggest thing for the Warhawks right now is they got to be 5-3 on Friday, and then you let the chips fall where they may, or the cards, or whatever you want to. The chips fall where they may in week 9. So the Warhawks, they got to be 5-3 at 10:30 on Friday night.
Yeah, and I'm sure if you're Coach Lonnie Moore, you're you're probably not happy that you're in the situation where you need to win out to make the playoffs, but you probably like what it allows you to do in terms of messaging to the team. Because what do we always hear from coaches? Taking it 1 week at a time. Well, you have to take it 1 week at a time right now, because there's nothing guaranteed right now. You're not in the playoff picture as it is. So what's the only thing you can do right now? You can work hard today in practice. You can work hard tomorrow in practice, and then when it comes to be Friday night, you can go out, work hard, and win that game. And that's what's going to help you get to the goal that he told me at the beginning of the season, which was putting that playoff qualifier banner in the gym at West. So, likable situation for West, unlikable situation for West. Cedar Falls also in kind of a similar situation where they're looking at, hey, if we can get a couple of wins here, rack up a couple of wins, we can get a home game. And extend our life in the dome a little bit here. But again, nothing's guaranteed. And you certainly don't want to lose your final 2 games. Probably going to be on the outside looking in at that point as well if you do. So nothing's guaranteed for our 2 Metro teams in 5A as they're looking to make the playoffs. But that is enough football talk.
I got some more. Give me another 60 seconds.
I figured you'd.
Could I have 60? I got all these notes.
I figured you'd work through all of them now.
No, these are different notes.
All right, go ahead.
All right, we have some other big games, including one involving a local team, our Metro team, Columbus Catholic, 1A4. They're in the playoffs. They know the playoffs, but they're playing for a home playoff game Friday night at South Hardin and 1A4. They need a win. They got to go win the Tigers. If the Tigers win, the Tigers get the home playoff game. So, if Columbus wants to play at TJ McLaughlin Field in their home opener or their playoff opener on, Friday. Let's see what's this week. I don't know what is this week. What is Friday? What's the date? October.
Oh my goodness, I don't know.
10, 11.
It's not the 10th.
13th. October 13th.
Friday the 13th.
Friday the 13th.
Ooh.
So on Friday, October 20th, the Columbus wants to be home for the 1A playoffs. They got to win on Friday. So, that looks good. Coach, I talked to Coach Brad Smith on Saturday. He's confident in this team and that their mind's in the right set. And then another one, 1A3. This is what a mess here for who's going to be the district champ in the top 2 seeds here. I did a deep dive here, but MFL, Dike, New Hartford, and Sumner Fredericksburg, they're all 3-1 in district play. So they all have a chance here to win I believe, to win the district title. But here's how it went down. Who's going to be the top 2 if they all win this week? MFL's beat Dike, New Hartford. Dike, New Hartford's beat Summer Fredericksburg, and Summer Fredericksburg beat MFL. That's going to be some RPI magic there. That's going to figure that out. Who's going to be if they all end up winning this week? Dike's got a big game at Denver. Denver needs to win just to keep the playoffs after starting 5-0. They don't want to lose the last 3 games. So that's a big game at the Cyclone Center on
a
Friday.
sharp field outside, overlooked by the Cyclone Center.
Yeah.
The press box is actually
semantics.
the press box is actually part of the Cyclone Center. I saw that. That's pretty cool.
And then the big thing here is, I think 4 weeks ago, you probably would have thought New Hampton is not going to be playing on the 2A playoffs. Lo and behold, heading into week 8, the last week of the regular season for the Chickasaws, they've won their last 3 games. They're 3-1 in district play. They're in the playoffs. And they have a big game on Friday night. Where is my notes here? With Waukon for the district title. They're going for a district title. They're going to end up 4-4 in the playoffs. Their biggest surgeon says their star runner, Braden McShane, is back. He missed about the first 4. He played in the first game, got hurt, missed about the next 3 weeks. They didn't look very good. He come back, and now they're on a roll here. So that one's and then we got a Thursday night game too, a pretty big game in Hudson Grundy Center at Hudson, top-ranked Spartans. We're looking to finish at 8-0 and head into the 1A playoffs. To defend not really defending title. They're going for a 1A title. They won an A last year. So anyway, a lot of big week in high school football. So that was more than 60 seconds. I took like 4 minutes, and Ethan knew that when I requested the time.
Anytime Jim requests time, it's not going to be as short as you think it's going to be. How important is a home playoff game? Well, Columbus can tell you they got into the playoffs, beat Denver in a game that I don't think many expected them to win in the playoffs last year, 14-7 at TJ McLaughlin. And then they went on the road to the Little Rose Bowl in West Branch and lost by 2 scores, 27-14. And you're looking at it, and it's like, hey, they lost their star in that game. They went down with a shoulder injury. And then you're on the road. You have that big momentum swing with the injury. Maybe a home field advantage would have come into play last year in the playoffs. So I think Columbus knows very well how important home playoff advantage can be for them. So I certainly think that they're looking forward to getting a win and getting some home field advantage. I think I said home field advantage like 5 times in the last minute.
Home field advantage, that's pretty good.
We'll go ahead
home
and
field
shift
advantage
gears now because we talk a lot of football
home field advantage
on this show, but there are other sports.
It's a big
in the
week.
area.
It's a big week. A lot of sports.
It is a big week.
Final week of the regular season for high school volleyball and cross country. And swimming's got a little more left in the regular season, but
next week is a big week for swimming.
But
dive.
Volleyball and cross country, it's a big last regular season weekend here.
And if you're a local Metro volleyball fan, keep your eyes on the Courier for tomorrow. There's quite the story coming out.
I can get a preview. Can you see that right there? There's the preview.
Jim had to make a detour on his way to Kinnick Stadium on Saturday to get some art for that because he burned me last week. You running some art a little bit early.
Oops.
Sorry, bad communication. I should have told you.
My bad.
It was my bad. I should have told you. But we'll go ahead and talk about swim and dive here as I got out to see the Cedar Falls Tigers for senior night as they took on Iowa City High, winning 134-52, improving their dual meet competition record to 24-3. That story's already run. So if you know what I'm talking about, don't tune out because we got a little bit additional coming here. They have 4 sister duos who are helping them accomplish their goals this year. So that's 8 girls, all with a sister on the team. It is, let me name them all off here. That's Allison and Reagan Easter, Bailey and Tatum Lehman. Bailey and Tatum had a older sister, Peyton, who was on the team last year as well. Yep. So they were a trio last year. Sophia and Emma Mason, not related to Molly Mason, who's also on the Cedar Falls Tigers. and Viv and Val Nunez are the sisters that are helping the Tigers accomplish those goals. What are those goals? I'm sure you're asking right now, but you shouldn't be because you should have read my story already, but this is a great reason to go back and reread it. Have fun, work hard, and be a family, and then cap it off, win championships. And it seems pretty easy to be a family when you have multiple families already combined on the team, and then that has kind of led to having fun and working hard because they're able to push each other in practice, and that's led to the Tigers being ranked number 8 in the latest power rankings behind Waukee, Dowling, Ames, Johnson, Ankeny Valley, and Iowa City West. And they have a big week. We talk about a big week in football. It's a big week next week as they have the Mississippi Valley Conference Championship next Thursday and Saturday. So they split it up. They don't make them swim on high school football Friday nights, but they have them swim Thursday and then have them swim again on
diving
Saturday.
might be Thursday.
It's there. Diving is
There
happening.
might be some preliminaries. I don't know, but I think diving's Thursday.
I have done a story where that is part of it, but
Okay.
I can't remember how
I think
it
diving's
works.
Thursday.
Well,
I'm not making fun of Ethan here.
Both of them are
usually I am, but I think diving's Thursday and swimming's Friday or Saturday.
Both of them are in Dubuque.
Yes.
So
Yes.
at the Hempstead
Dubuque
campus.
Hempstead.
Yes,
I
they
think
have
Stephen, and I can't think of the initial,
it has
Hempstead High School.
Yes, they have a big
Stephen F. Hempstead.
Yeah, they have a
J. Could be us.
Their
It's at Hempstead High School.
natatorium is
It's at the high school.
named something. It's at
Called
Hempstead
Hempstead.
High School. That's what we're going
The
to tell
Hempstead
you.
High School.
We're not Hempstead. We're not Dubuque Media anyway. The Telegraph can tell you what it's called. And Tatum Lehman is 13th in the 100 free, 29th in the 200 free. Mary Flickema is 11th in the 100 back, 13th in the 100 fly, and Paige Wilson is 19th in the 100 breast for their, I guess, best swimmers in a statewide, from a statewide pool of swimmers. But I think they stack up fairly well against the Mississippi Valley Conference, and a conference championship is certainly part of goal number 4.
Yep.
A state championship is usually what your mind goes to, but an MVC championship is certainly in play. I feel they've swam against a number of those teams already and had some fairly decent results. So a lot to like about the Cedar Falls swim team. You've typed up significantly more of their competitions than I have, and so you've been typing up a lot of wins, Jim. Has anything stood out to you while you've been typing those up?
The Cedar Falls is always a great depth team. They got a lot of good, so they're gonna be competitive because they're never gonna be out of a race. And we talk about where they rank now, and this is true for a lot of teams. But they're in their final march. They're probably tapering down. They're not practicing as hard, so those times are gonna start coming down a little bit because they're not gonna be heavy workloads in practice, where they're building up endurance and they're building up the strength and all that. Now it's going to be tapering down, and those times are going to start really, each of them are going to start clipping off maybe if it's a longer race, a second or two here, and they're going to get up there and they're going to put themselves in position. And that's what the Tigers always seem to do is they put themselves in position to be successful when it comes down to the nitty gritty time late in the year.
And when I asked Coach Chelsea Sherbach, on Tuesday, what did the senior class bring? Because it was senior night, and there were a couple of the sisters on there, but I wanted to ask about the seniors as well because it was their night. She said, well, these seniors have just been super consistent in their ability to take a little bit of time off of their times. So that was one aspect of it. And then added on top of that is when I was talking to the sisters, they said, well, having someone older and who's been through the program that helps, they can coach us a little bit, work through maybe some of the adversity we're facing, or when the season gets long and we're getting tired, we're able to go to them and they're kind of able to work through it with us. And so that's the advantage, I guess, of having that family culture that they've been able to cultivate at Cedar Falls is that the underclassmen are able to go to the upperclassmen who've been there and have lived it to kind of rely on that experience and almost get it through osmosis without having to experience it themselves. And one thing that Coach Zerbach also pointed out was that they might not have sisters on the team right now when I was writing the story about all the sisters, but they've had a sister on the team in the past. And so they're able to go to that person for, hey, you've been through the season before, what's it like? Or that person maybe just unprovoked will offer that kind of advice. So I think that is one thing that Cedar Falls has going for itself. And I'm certainly looking forward to seeing how they do as they get into the postseason, as I'm sure the Cedar Falls swim fans are as well. That meet was streamed on Channel 15, so
Yes.
I'm sure you can catch some of their upcoming meets on Channel 15 as well, though I cannot confirm that.
Yeah. So I just love it, Coach Surback. I love that we talked about this is a conversation now. We're going off topic here that Ethan have been talking about all day about names that are hard to spell. Well, Surback has always been hard to me because Chelsea is married to former UNI offensive lineman Ezra Surback, and there's some Z's and some Y's and C's and K's in there. For me, that's a lot of that's too many. So I've always had trouble spelling that name, and when I get it right, I feel pretty good. But when you have to write it like 7 times in a story, he got it right, and that's impressive. But he's still figuring out Tucker Langenberg. It's Tucker Lagerberg, Tucker Whataburger.
That's a Panther extra topic, but I did kind of cheat. I had her last name copied
and paste,
so I could just copy and paste it whenever I needed.
I give you a compliment and you just blow it away. Well, at least you spelled it right the first time.
Well, there's a Google site that has her name spelled out for Cedar Falls Swim, and I copied and pasted it from there as well. I got it right, didn't I? That's my only job.
All right, I'll let the comments I'll let the compliments stay out there.
All right. So we'll go ahead and finish it off recognizing last week's preps to watch as I out myself for not being able to spell names.
There's just some names that are tough.
Last week we honored Izzy Hoots from Dike New Hartford, Elijah Lemley from Waterloo West, Claire McCumber from Dike New Hartford, Caden Kanak from Don Bosco, Jessica Gergen from Denver, Nick Hagerty from Columbus, Tiernan Vokes from Grundy Center, and Peyton Klooster from AP. Jim, if you want to solicit nominations for this week, because I know we're getting around that time of the week, or if you just want to share a little bit about what you know of these athletes, the floor is yours.
The floor is oh boy, that's wrong.
Dangerous.
I am just gonna promote. Hey, let's get me some preps to watch. I got a few have already trickled in. It's just reach out, coaches. Reach out to me, jim.nelson@wcfcourier.com. Say, hey, preps to watch. We need a little headshot there. Give me some information about them, a little quote, what activities they do, and we're not including just athletes. Not this isn't all about the student, the athlete. We like the student athlete park. We like to know if they're in the FFA. We like to know if they're in the National Honor Society. We like to know if they're in the debate club because there's some smart kids that can can hit the volleyball really hard or throw the football really far. So we want it all. Any sport that we have that is sponsored right now, we want to hear your name. The more the merrier. We've been getting close to 8 to 10 athletes every week, and that's great. I always aim for 6 to 8, so the more we get, the better. This week, we're going to do another feature on another outstanding high school volleyball player. We're going to cue that up. I'm talking to her tomorrow night, Ellery Luring, who just became the all-time leading assist leader in Grundy Center history, and Grundy Center has got an illustrious volleyball history. So that's a big one there. I'll be talking to Ellery tomorrow. So we're going to have that later this week. So I'll pump up that. We're going to Ellery Luring from Grundy Center. We're going to have a big story on her in Thursday's section. So we love that column. We love preps to watch. We want to honor your athletes. I've already had 2 or 3 trickle in this morning, and I'll send out some emails before I leave tonight, just to get some reminders. And then that's my task tomorrow is tracking down some more preps to watch and. I really like doing it, and, talking to the coaches and them honoring their athletes out there. I think we got a swimmer already nominated this week. We got another volleyball player. I'll have to reach out to some of these football coaches. They're in playoff mode right now. They're all in the playoff mode. So, but anyway, here's it again. It's jim.nelson@wcfcourier.com. If you want to call me at the office, it's 319-291-1521. You can leave a message. I'll get back to you. So just appreciate all you high school coaches out there. I know you put in a lot of hours for about $0.10 an hour. So, but I know we appreciate you, and I know your athletes appreciate all the time and effort you put in.
Well, it only burned up about 3 minutes, so it's all right. You didn't kill
only
me.
Only 3?
I will say this: Jim talks about how much he loves putting that preps to watch together. You mentioned I would need some Volt Cola last weekend. I didn't end up falling asleep on the road, though I wanted to. Last night when I was on my way back from Terre Haute, Jim needs some Volt Cola.
Jolt
Cola. Jeez,
yeah, look it up.
Jolt. You need some Jolt Cola after preps to watch, because that's a slog. It's just keys. If you know it, the sound of fingers on a keyboard, that's all you hear from Jim's desk on Tuesdays or Wednesdays when he's putting that whole thing together. So just a man on a mission. You can't get a word in edgewise. I'll say a full sentence to him, and then I'll finish the sentence with, "You didn't hear a word I just said," and then he'll like snap out of it 30 seconds later, and I'll just have to repeat myself. So
I can't deny that.
Immense focus, immense passion for the preps to watch, and it's a fun little presentation on the inside of the sports edition every Thursday. So we also like to pump it up on social media a little bit, get the names out there, get the kids tagged on the post. It's a rite of passage now because sometimes the photos are a little low quality, so it looks like they're taking on a brick. But I think that's the fun part about it too. Is there's so much character in the preps to watch. So be sure to look out for that on Thursday. I got some great stuff coming out. We got the story on Ellery Luring coming out later this week. We got my volleyball story that I'm not going to even tell you who it's about. You're just going to have to wait and find out tomorrow.
Wait till tomorrow morning. I think it goes online 5:45 in the morning. So get up.
Yeah.
Get up at 5:44. Get your phone up.
Refresh.
Get that career app.
Refresh. Yeah. It a real fun one. I felt like an idiot when I landed on this topic, but it turns out that I wasn't the only one surprised by this player's emergence this season. So be sure to check that one out. We're going way too far overtime at this point for Beyond the Buzzer.
OT.
Don will be back next week.
I was up way late watching OT this week. I'm going to even for more OT. I watched that U.S.
Donald will be back next weekend. Donald will be back next weekend. So be sure to tune in to Beyond the Buzzer. Thank you for watching.